It seems like I hear a lot of on social media and things, my drum mower's not cutting good. My disc mower's not cutting good all of a sudden. It done real good at first cut, now something's happened to it. This thing's junk.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Howdy folks, I'm Darren, and welcome to 8th Day Chronicles here at Cross Timbers Farm. Glad to have you with us today. We're out here in the west field. Man, does this need cut. I've taken 2 pieces of hay grasses here I want to show you. And we are quickly entering into a stage where if we can't cut this soon, the quality's going to start stair-stepping down. I've got 2 representatives here of what's in this field. And the first one is a piece of Timothy. You can see that Timothy's actually seed-headed. Okay, good looking Timothy, and it's got a stem. Timothy will seed-head at a different time than your orchard or fescue. Not all the Timothy seed-headed, but some of it is. It's late in the year. Look at this piece of orchard grass. Look at that. I don't know if you could see that, but from my hat brim, it's all the way down, way past my belt, all the way down to my thigh. Look how wide that leaf is. Boy, you talk about some beautiful hay. That's going to make some highly nutritious, beautiful hay. That's what 90% of this field is right here, or probably more than that, 95%. All leaf material. And however, that's not the topic of today's video. It's the perfect time of year to describe folding, what we call folding. Or some areas of the country, some people call it lodging. Your hay grasses will start lodging. What do I mean by lodging? Or what we call in this area, folding. All the energy and nutrients and everything, instead of going up in those root systems and all that growth going and the energy of that plant going to producing a stem and producing a seed head to move up through that stem, that's at first cut. When you cut it at the reproductive stage, that's when 90% of your hay is going to be in a reproductive stage. Now, certain kind of cool season grasses will go into a reproductive stage later than others. You'll have some really early emerging seed heads. You'll have some it's later. But as a whole, we're talking generalities, as a whole, That's going to happen at first cut. Most of your grasses coming out of winter into spring are going to start developing that seed head, and that's where most of the growth energy from those roots and everything's going to go to. It's going to go to that stem to push that seed head up high so the seeds can ripen and fall and reproduce. Okay. After first cutting, that plant has already went through its reproductive stage. Now it's focusing all that growth energy and those nutrients and micronutrients and all that into leaf production. That's why some people deem second and third cuts better than first cuts. Now, as a general rule, that's true if you don't want stem. But stem hay, first cutting hay, can be pretty dadgum good. It can be almost as good as second or third. You can have that stem and also have a bunch of undergrowth leafy material to make that first cut hay really good. As a general rule, second and third cut's going to be higher nutritional value, higher desirability to your animals because of the lack of stem and the fiber. What happens in second and third cuttings when 90% of your growth is all leaf material, or 95%? Timing and the conditions to cut that hay is paramount. You don't want to wait till that hay gets up this high like you would at first cutting. You want to cut that hay before it starts folding. What is folding or lodging, wherever you're from? Okay, let's pretend my forearm here's the hay grasses for second cutting or third. They're going to grow and grow and get really thick, especially if you have a nice thick stand of hay. That hay's going to get so thick and gross. You've seen that leaf so long, it tries to grow up, and when it gets so big and so heavy, it'll start laying over. Rain can induce it. Really heavy rain can get it started that direction once it's already getting pretty long, or a really strong wind can start laying it over. But even without the rain or the wind, once it gets so tall and so thick and so heavy, it'll start all on its own laying over. There's no stem or nothing to hold that up. It's going to start laying over or folding or lodging, wherever you're from. When it lays over like this, all the grasses underneath, all the other leaves are suddenly going to start getting smothered out from the sun. The sun's blocking them. When it rains, all that moisture under there, the wet ground, never dries out because it's almost shaded constantly if you're getting rains regularly for good growth. All that hay under here, all those grasses are going to start turning brown. They're going to start dying out. It's not good. It'll make your volume and your nutritional value start stair-stepping. Down, down, down. The more of your hay that starts folding, the lower and lower your TDN, or total digestible nutrients, and things of that nature. Even volume in your hay is going to go down with it because of that folding. Okay, let's go for a short walk. We've got a section of hay right out here that's starting to fold. I want you to look how thick this hay is. You can't even see my foot. It just disappears in it. We've got a pretty good section right over here. It's starting to fold. Two different kinds of grasses. And ignore all the foxtail. If you followed our channel very long, you know about our foxtail problem. So ignore that. You're going to see some brown spots where we spot sprayed glyphosate to get rid of deer tongue. So there is some spots like that. Okay, right here is a large patch of Kentucky bluegrass. Look at how bad that's folded. Look at this. There's orchard under it, but look. I mean, it goes way down in there. I mean, just deep, deep. It's elbow deep. And it's folded. Imagine if it's standing upright. But it's folded. See it here? There's a good example of it. Okay, right over here, we have a pretty big section of Timothy that's folded. Look at this, how bad it's folded. There's some Timothy. Beautiful Timothy. Okay. I want you to look at this. It's folding. This is orchard. I'm sorry, I said a minute ago Timothy. This is orchard and a Timothy mix. Look how bad this is folding. See how it's laying over? Very obvious. And you've seen from the drone footage, you can spot it easy from the air. What sections of your hay is folding. You get a bird's eye view from up in the sky, and man, you can really spot it. Okay, I'm back here at this Kentucky bluegrass with a little different camera to show you what's happening under this folded hay, or these folded hay grasses, I should say. All right, I'm gonna spin the camera around. We're gonna dig under this. Okay, this is Kentucky bluegrass with a little bit of orchard mixed in with it. There's some orchard, but it's mostly Kentucky bluegrass. All right, let's just start pushing aside. Look how wet it is in there. Are you starting to see all that brown? Look at this. All right, I'm gonna pull some of it out if I can. Look at that. That's not good. That's what happens when you start getting folded hay. Look at that, underneath it. It's getting no sun. It never dries out after rains because it's so shielded. It's like a roof over it. It gets wet down in there and it never can dry. The water will seep down through it, but the sun's not getting to it. Not good. That's why you need to keep an eye on your second and third cuts. A lot of people say, oh, I want my second or third cut, you know, to be up waist high, yada, yada, yada. If your goal is quality or premium hay, no, you don't. You've waited way too long. Let's look over here in some orchard that has folded. Let's see what it's looking like. Okay, right here we go. Didn't have to go far. Look at this. It's not standing up. Look how wide those leaves are. Have mercy. All right, let's dig down in it. I'm already starting to see some brown. See it? It is so, look here. Look at the brown happening down in there. All right, here is a prime example. Look at that leaf. Look at that. Yellow. Yellow and brown. That is a direct result of folding hay. Okay. Now, we only have just a couple of small areas right now that's folded. And we need to cut ASAP. I mean ASAP. But we can't because of the weather. I was really hoping this week to get a cut window, a good window of hardly no rain all week. That's not happening. We had heavy rain last night. I mean heavy rain. I ain't checked my rain gauge yet, but it rained a lot. Last night and early this morning, about daybreak, it was pouring the rain. Lightning, thunder, the whole 9 yards. The weather forecast for the next 5 days is rain's over for today. They do have a chance of thunderstorms this evening, but a lower chance. You can see the skies behind me is pretty gloomy looking. Like 12% chance tomorrow, 8% the next day, 18% the next day, that's 3 days, Then the fourth day, 64%. The fifth day, 75%. And on and on and on. We need 5 days to get this dried down on second and third cuts. It's going to be so thick. And we don't want a disaster of rain on losing all this hay like we did in our test plot a week ago. That test plot, losing it, or southeast field, we can deal with that because that was the smallest field that we have left to cut. So losing it was not that big of a deal for our hay needs for the winter. Now, I hated losing it because it's some of the best hay we'd ever grown, and it always just adds to our stockpile of hay, whether we choose to sell some or keep it all or whatever. But regardless, it was some fantastic hay and we lost it. But we're not going to cry over spilled milk. We're going to move on. But we've got to make this field and the main field right over here, we got to make them work because we're going to need some hay for winter, and we got to make these two fields work. Now, I don't think we will need all the hay that comes off this field and the main field portion that we're going to cut. I don't think that's way more than we need. We have the first cutting from the southeast field, or the test plot, in the barn. We've got about 25 bales, I think, in the barn. What we got off the southeast field, plus what we got a little bit off this when it first cut, in there. We saved a little bit of it and we sold the rest. One or both of these fields has to work for us, or we're going to be buying hay. And that's a shame for a hay farmer to be buying hay. So we got to make them work. Okay, this folded hay, when it folds over and you go to cut it, that creates a whole nother Pandora's box. Let's talk about it. You can see here behind me our Kowalski / Farm Max FDM 135 drum mower. Kowalski model numbers is Z001/1 model. And I'm a huge fan of a drum mower. If you followed our channel very long, you know that. I like a drum mower. The price you pay for a brand new drum mower and the performance you'll get out of it is second to none, in my opinion. Now, you can pay a lot more money and get just as good of a cut, or maybe even, dare I say, better. But you can get a fantastic cut for a lot less money with a drum mower. I'm a huge drum mower fan. We've had this one for several years and I like it. That is a fantastic hay mower. About this time of year, at second and third, later summer, second and third cuts, it seems like I hear a lot of on social media and things, my drum mower's not cutting good. My disc mower's not cutting good all of a sudden. It done real good at first cut. Now something's happened to it. This thing's junk. I hear that a lot. And it could be a problem with your drum mower. I'm not dismissing that. However, at second or third cut, I think there's another issue. Let's talk about what it could be with your drum mower. Number one, you rushed out into the field and you did not take the time to straighten that thing up behind your tractor. You didn't take 10 minutes to run it down somewhere on your driveway or around your farm, on your barn yard somewhere, and pull that drum mower around in, or disc mower, whatever you got. Pull it around into the cutting position. Like here's the top of the drum mower, and level it this way and this way. Use that top link and that adjustable side link to get that drum mower or disc mower sitting level. With that pin on the floating bar, if you know what I'm talking about, I've shown this before in other videos. This bar right here, this pin where this bar joins this bar, there's a slot right in there where your transport locker is. Get that pin sitting right in the middle of that slot where that drum mower or disc mower, whatever you're using, When your terrain does like this, that drum mower can float with the contours of the field. Very important. I see people talk about, to adjust my cut height, I'm gonna tilt my mower back, my drum mower back, so the top's cutting higher. Well, those blades are spinning all the way around. They don't just cut on the front. If it cuts something high on the front, when that back passes by it, it's gonna cut it. All you're doing is introducing problems, in my opinion. Now, every bit of this is my opinion, from somebody that's used a drum mower for years, and I like them. I don't work on them, disclaimer. I'm not a drum mower repairman, nothing like that. Don't own a drum mower company. I have zero income from a drum mower other than using it. I'm talking about the sales of them, none. So take it for what it's worth. When you tilt that thing backwards, you're just defeating the purpose. You're cutting higher in the front, but you're going to cut lower in the back. When those skid plates, and if you're familiar with how a drum mower works, and a disc mower's a lot the same way. You have those turtles on a disc mower, and they have a plate underneath them. If you tilt that thing back, when it goes through, it's going to chop it up higher, and then when it skids over it, those back blades are still spinning, and it's going to hit it down here. You're actually cutting lower by tilting it up in the front. The only way it would work that way is to tilt it down in the front a little bit. Then you're just going to cut lower and lower, and that's usually not an issue with a drum mower. Nobody wants to cut lower. Another issue you could have was putting too many spacers under those drums to raise the cut height. I learned that from School of Hard Knocks. You can go too high, and all of a sudden your cut will be ragged a little bit. Not bad, but some. The next thing would be not getting it leveled, not leveling it this way, not leveling it this way. Your mower's sitting like this or like this, with your 3-point up too high, and it's sitting like this with your top link run out too far, or your adjustable side link adjusted too far and it's sitting like this. Level that drum mower up. If you've got it squared behind your tractor and you've got it leveled and you've got good blades on it, your blades are not chipped from hitting all kind of rocks and everything, you've got good blades on that drum mower, man, I'm telling you, mows like nobody's business. The prettiest cuts I've ever seen in a hayfield come from a drum mower. A sickle bar mower, as far as a pretty cut, would be my next choice. However, a sickle bar mower, it's not for me. The clogging they have and things of that nature, having to deal with rivets to replace blades and all that, not my cup of tea. Late summer, time for second and third cuts of hay. Maybe even fourth, depending on your location and your growing season. Every year, this time of year, it seems like there pops up some things on social media, YouTube, different things, of people complaining about their drum mower or their disc mower not cutting good. It's leaving rooster tails, you know, little strips of hay down through their hayfield after they've baled it and got it all up, and they look at it and they go, man, this thing's junk. It cut so good at first cut, something's happened to it. I've had bearings go bad. I put new blades on it and it's still cutting terrible. I took the blades off and looked at them and they were still in good shape and it's cutting terrible. So I put new blades on it, it's still cutting terrible. What's going on with this thing? I'll never buy another one of these things. Well, whether that be a disc mower or a drum mower, that mower may be just fine. It has nothing to do with your mower, that ragged cut. Let's go back to what we were doing out in the west field, that folded grass hays. Those folded hay grasses. All right, again, I'm gonna use my forearm as an example. I'm gonna use this one. Here is your hay grasses standing up. they just get thicker and thicker and thicker and heavier, they start laying over, okay? All of a sudden here you come along with a disc mower or drum mower, and the disc mower and the drum mower slide along the ground on those skid plates, okay? That's how they cut. It's laid over. Here comes that drum mower, and that skid plate runs up on that grass. It's already pushed down, runs up on it. That grass can't get up to get cut. Are you starting to see where I'm going with this? That grass is like this. That drum mower just skids along the top, finally digs in enough, the ground maybe does a little something like that, digs in enough to those grasses, the blades do, to cut them. Now you've cut it right here, all right? You've still got this much later. Once you've cut it and got all the weight off that, 3-4 days later when you're baling, you notice it starts standing back up, and you've got rooster tails through your field that high. Those skid plates on a disc mower or drum mower can't get up under that. It's laying down. It's not the mower's fault. The mower's cutting just as good as it did at first cut, because at first cut your hay was standing up real good with stems, and it was able to go through it and cut it. That's why earlier I said it's so important to cut your hay at the right time, at the right conditions. If you wait and you start getting folded hay, your field is going to look a little ragged. I think the very best you do, and there's nothing wrong with your drum mower, there's nothing wrong with your disc mower, it's that you cut your hay at the wrong time. You waited way too long to cut your hay, and it folded or lodged, whatever you call it from where you're from. That hay started lodging, and now you've got a ragged cut. The only hay mower that I can think of, now this is theory, I've not tested this, the only hay mower I think that would do good in folded hay is a sickle bar mower. If that hay's folded over and you can come along with that sickle bar mower, it's going to come right on the ground, and it don't have a skid plate pushing on that grass as it skids along. A sickle bar mower would do a better cut, especially if the hay's folded this way and you come along and cut it this way. If your hay's folded this way, and you can at all with your drum mower or your disc mower, cut it from this way. It then could possibly get up under it and cut it cleanly down at the height, at the crowns and the stubble height you want. If it's folded in every different direction, man, that's tough. That's tough. I don't care what you're mowing it with, maybe other than a sickle bar mower. But with a sickle bar mower, everybody knows about the clogging, getting off that thing, clearing clogs, backing up every little bit to clear a clog off of it. When it comes time to change those blades, popping out rivets, putting in new rivets, using a rivet tool, or if you take all the rivets out and put bolts in them and nuts, ever so many, you're taking off I don't know how many bolts and nuts. And a sickle bar mower, to me, there's better options. Now, a sickle bar mower has its place, don't get me wrong, but I think in a grass hay field, and I'm talking grasses, I think a drum mower or disc mower is the way to go, or a hay bind. You know, it's going to leave somewhat of a little bit of a ragged cut on second and third cuts. The best you can do if you've let your hay fold. Now, that's why I said earlier it's so important to cut your hay at the right time, in the right conditions, at the right time, before that hay starts folding. When you see some hay grasses start folding over, you need to be getting ready to go cut, because it's just going to progress from there. More and more of it's going to start folding. And when you go to cut that folded hay and you bale it and get it off your field, you're going to stand back and look, and you're going to see rooster tails everywhere that hay had folded, just about. Yeah, it'll get some of it, but I'm talking a clean cut all over your field. You're gonna have strips of some little rooster tails here, there, and yonder, where those, here's the folded hay, and those discs, those sliding discs on the bottom, or what I call skid plates, come along, and that grass is down so far they just ride up on it. It probably, if you're experiencing that, it's not your mower. It's the actual hay grasses, and you waited too long to cut. This is my personal opinion, and from years of using a drum mower and cutting folded hay. I hear so many times people say, this drum mower is junk. This disc mower is junk. I am so dissatisfied with this thing. When in reality, if everything else is correct, that thing's been leveled up, it's leveled left and right, front and back, and it's squared up good with your tractor, and you've got good sharp blades, there's a high probability it has nothing to do with that drum mower or disc mower, nothing. It's the grasses. You, as the hay farmer, waited too long and let your hay fold, and now you're seeing the results of that. That's just my opinion, and from years of experience. This thing cuts like nobody's business, especially for the price. A price point of these drum mowers versus how well they cut is a fantastic deal in the hay market. I mean, a fantastic deal. However, yeah, there is things you can do to make it not cut good. Tilting it, or not having it squared up behind your tractor. When you're mowing along, letting your tractor eat over too far, where you've made one pass and here you come with the next one, and here's the standing grass, and you let your tires get over on this side of it a little bit and you leave a strip. That can happen in thick grass. Sometimes our hay gets so thick it's hard to tell where I went the first pass. And I've seen that I left some rooster tails before doing that. Pay attention when you're driving along. Don't be listening to Merle Haggard or Waylon Jennings on your earphones and singing along that I never could toe the mark. Be paying attention to what you're mowing. Bad blades, I'm talking, you know, you could neglect some things and get it to cutting bad, no doubt. However, if everything's set up properly and set up right with good blades and all the whole 9 yards, and you have folded hay, and you get off after you're done baling and look at your field, and you go, holy cow, look at this, is cut terrible. Look at all these rooster tails down through my field. Look at all these strips in here, a 10-yard patch here and a 10-yard patch up there of strips, and I know I didn't get over. I didn't let my tires eat over into the uncut hay. That drum mower, that disc mower is junk. Well, if that be the case, then and everything's perfect, then that drum mower, disc mower is not junk, and it's because you waited too long to cut your hay and let it fold. And that folded hay is the culprit, not the mower. Like I said earlier, the only mower I can think of that would probably get up under that and do a really good job is a sickle bar mower. And even then, it would be best to cut it the opposite way it's folded. Now, even with a drum mower, if you can cut the opposite way it's folded, I think you're going to get a better result. But even then, I think you probably have some stragglers along in the field that you look at and go, it didn't cut that very well. It cut it, you know, everything else is cut this low, and there's a patch that's cut that low. Well, that's probably why, if it was folded. This is all my opinion. Disclaimer. Your mileage may vary and vary a lot, but from years of using these things, I find I get a fantastic cut. I mean fantastic. And for our farm budget money, what we paid for this thing versus a disc mower or even a sickle bar mower, blows them out of the water. Blows them out of the water. For the money involved. Now, I'm not saying that a sickle bar or a disc mower is not even good. They are. They're good mowers. But for the money you spent, money, dollar versus bang for the buck, right here. I'm telling you, you can't, in my opinion, you can't beat it. If your opinion varies, that's perfectly fine. I have no problem with that. However, this is one man's opinion, and if you have a really good cut one time, and the next time you have a rotten cut, but you have everything set up exactly the way it was the first cut, you probably cutting late folded hay. Nothing you can do about that other than cut at the right time. And cutting at the right time is going to make better hay anyway. So that's what we should be striving for. You can see a little bit of ours starting to fold, and I can't cut because of the weather. The rain just keeps on and on and on. I can't catch a window to cut. So in that west field, I'm going to end up dealing with some folded hay. And when I go to cut it, and we rake and bale it, and it's all off the field, and I jump on the ATV and ride back out there the next day and look at it, and I see some straggly rooster tails here and there in the yard, I'm not going to be surprised. It had nothing to do with that drum mower ain't cutting like it's supposed to. It had to do with that folded hay. And that folded hay was on me and the weather, so you have to deal with it. Thanks for being with us today. I really appreciate it. I hope this helps somebody, because I see this a lot. I mean a lot. About later in the year, people complaining about a ragged cut with a drum mower or a disc mower. And I don't think a lot of people consider that folded hay, the effect it's having on those skid plates and that mower. Thanks for being with us. I really appreciate it, and I pray God blesses you and your family, and I pray y'all have a fantastic day.